1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All
One of resistance,
we are a spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the first order down.
rebellion,
Rebellion is built on hope.
and redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Well, hello and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. We are so happy you are back with us and joining us this week. We are going to have just so much fun tonight as we sit down with a good friend of the show. So let's get all the introductions and everything out of the way. My name is Aaron Harris, and not joining me this week is my pal, my co-host, the David Motters. David is on the road doing some traveling with for family stuff, so wish him safe travels there. But he'll be back with us not this episode, not the next episode, but the episode after that. But it's going to be a lot of great stuff in the meantime. So for now, we got a great time. We're going to do one of our reaction chats this week. So I'm not alone. You don't have to sit here and listen to me ramble all by myself. I know how much y'all love that. But it's we got a great show, a great reaction chat. And for those of you who are new and don't know what our reaction chat series is, this is a series where we sit down with a fellow Star Wars fan and we explore their fandom. We ask them some questions. We kind of dig deep into their journey through their Star Wars fandom and find out what makes them tick and what about the fandom they enjoy. And it ends up being just a fun all-around party. You get to learn something new about somebody, maybe hear a different point of view you never thought or considered before. But the whole purpose is, one, to have fun, two, to get to know our friends and listeners and fellow podcasters, but three, just to prove that, we can all have different points of views about the saga and still get along and have a great time because we all love Star Wars. It's simple as that. So joining me this week is no stranger to our show. He is a longtime listener. He is a friend. I'm happy to be able to call him a friend. He is just a great guy. And he is the person behind the Star Wars Podcast Day. And that is his brainchild, and we're going to hear a lot about that here coming up shortly. But let's take a moment and say hello and welcome Daniel Contreras to the show. Daniel, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Wait. Star Wars reactions? I thought this was dad joke reactions. I think I'm on the wrong show.
Well,
I've been saving that for a long time.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a dad joke, right?
Hey, we may have to make that a special. Just do a dad joke episode where I do nothing but back to back. I want to keep my co-host, so I better not do that.
And your audience.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. True there.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Well, I am so glad you're able to join us this week. I know this is something we've been talking about doing for a while, and the opportunity presented itself, especially with the upcoming 2024 edition of Star Wars Podcast Day coming up just shortly around the corner here. And we figured it'd be a great time to get you on. To promote Podcast Day and, of course, explore your fandom while we were at it. So if you're ready, let's jump into it.
Sure. Happy to.
So we know, of course, Star Wars Podcast Day is, of course, your brainchild, something you came up with, which, of course, I absolutely love. The next one that's coming up is February 7th. 2024. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the purpose of Star Wars Podcast Day and how you came up with this idea and developed it and the journey you've been on with it.
Yeah, well, sure. So the purpose of it is twofold. One is to help. The way I look at it is, there's May the 4th, Star Wars Day, which is kind of a way of celebrating and bringing attention to all of Star Wars fandom, and Star Wars, Lucasfilm and the movies and everything. But I thought it'd be kind of cool if the podcast community had its own kind of mini May the 4th, to kind of put the spotlight specifically on podcasts and to get them attention and publicity and get the word out. Podcasting has just exploded over the past, 5 years, 10 years, to really kind of reach out, to become part of pop culture and mainstream culture. Everyone's making and everyone's listening to podcasts. So that was kind of one of the goals. And then the second was, just because I've been such an avid podcast listener and Star Wars podcast listener for close to 20 years now, I wanted to do, but I don't make podcasts. I wanted to find a way to kind of give back to the community that I've, taken, I don't want to put it that way, but gotten so much from. So that was my way of doing it, just seeing if there was a way to kind of like set aside a day and kind of honor the podcasting community as it exists now and as it got started back in 1999. And this was a way to do it.
Very cool. And this, of course, is the 4th year that this has occurred. And what can people expect from Star Wars Podcast Day? What's going to happen on that day in particular?
Yeah. Well, so, the first time we did it, it was has kind of been the same template that we've used ever since, which is to reach out to different shows that are either, it's kind of broad. I mean, it is majority Star Wars focused podcasts, but there are a few kind of general geek podcasts that also participate. So it's open to any show that wants to participate. It is a celebration of kind of the fan audio community, but there are some YouTube channels which strictly do YouTube, podcasts that also take part. And so I'm kind of open in that way. So you'll get a mix of whether you listen to your podcasts on your phone, on your computer, or if you view them on a YouTube channel. It's for them all to release an episode, preferably on February 7th, and I'll explain why it's specifically that day. Or if not, then maybe in the next, few, days afterwards. But we try to target February 7th of every year. And it's for shows to basically release what they already do. I really try not to have them focus on a particular topic. I say, do what you normally would do, and release it on this day. And hopefully it'll get more attention and people will be able to kind of get a sample for what you produce in terms of your style of podcast, your topics, and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Very cool. And it has been fun over the last couple of years as we've gotten to participate and be involved as well. It has been something we have done. Each year we have been a part of the show, which has been great to do that. Matter of fact, at the end of the show, we will let you know what our topic of the episode is, because David and I already planned this out. Once we got the word that it was of the date, I talked to David and we brainstormed a plan, and I think everybody's going to enjoy it. I know I'm excited for it. So you mentioned earlier this, of course, is there's a meaning behind the February 7th date that this occurs. Right. Can you tell us what is so special about that February 7th date?
Yes, well, I wanted to pick a day. We could have picked any day. We didn't want it to be too close to May the 4th because that's a focus for the general Star Wars community, and also just Star Wars podcasters want to release on that day very often as well. So I was trying to find out what would be a good day to release it or to pick on the calendar. And I've listened to some of the very oldest podcasts that ever existed, even before they were called podcasts. They were known as internet radio shows back in the day. And so I know some of those people, and I said, can we find out when the very first podcast had its very first episode? And we were able to kind of, with a little bit of sleuthing and talking to some of those original podcasters and looking at like the old Internet Archive to kind of find out, like, to listen to some of the shows, we found that February 7th, 1999 was the release of the very first episode of the very first then Star Wars internet radio show called Jedi Talk. These three guys out of the Salt Lake City area in Utah produced a show. And that lasted for about 3 years. And yeah, so we picked that date. We kind of also contacted one of the creators of that show, Lucian. And yeah, ever since that's been the date that we picked. It was fitting because it was a day that celebrated something specific to the Star Wars audio community.
It was the day it all got started.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. So we are for Star Wars Podcast Day 2024. We are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Star Wars podcasting, February 7th, 2024. Check out all of your all your favorite podcasts, including us. We'll be releasing episodes. What's the count up to now? I know every time I talk to you, the count has grown as to how many shows have announced their participation.
Yeah, well, we tried to launch with a big number. So I tried to get like around 30 to 35 shows on the original launch announcement, which we did, I think, 2 weeks ago, like right after Christmas. And ever since then, the official count on my last social media update was 61, but I release those updates every couple of days to kind of build up excitement. So I think total the number of shows, it's well over between 75 and 80. Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm trying to get up to our record of 107 shows, which we've hit last year and the year before. We reached 107 shows participating.
Oh, that's awesome. So a lot of great content that's going to be coming out February 7th. So make sure you have your podcast catchers ready to go and plug in your earphones and your earbuds and just go Star Wars crazy. February 7th is all your favorite shows should be releasing something special. So,
and Aaron, could I mention something as well about that?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Yes. So we do have two hashtags to search for. Well, you could search it one of, I guess, 4 ways. Either if you're already subscribed to a podcast, you'll see it show up if the show is participating. Otherwise, you can do a search online for Star Wars Podcast Day, or hashtag Star Wars Podcast Day, or hashtag SWPD 2024. And it should bring up basically any show that's taking part. About typically 2/3 to 3/4 released on the actual day, and then the remaining shows in a particular year tend to kind of trickle out throughout the rest of the following week. And we don't strictly say February 7th because I know some shows have a set release schedule. We want to respect that as well.
Oh, definitely understand. I think in the past we've done it mixed for our show. Some have been on day, some have been later in the week. Based on our release schedule and way our lives played out, getting stuff done. But this week, I don't think we've decided if. I think we're going to go on the 7th this year. So.
And Aaron, have you released every year so far, the past 3 years, or did you miss one?
I think there was one we missed because of there were. I think it was because COVID, honestly. I think I got sick and my whole household got sick and we couldn't release. So I think year 1 is the year we missed. We had planned on it and then I got sick and I missed it. But I think this we've gotten every other year, the last 2 years, I'm pretty sure.
And we have a mix every year of returning shows and brand new shows taking part. So it's like I said, it's very simple to get involved as a producer, as a host of a show. But yeah, I make it very easy. So that's why we have such large numbers.
Yeah, it is so much fun to be a part of, and it's just a great community effort, and I love it. That's one thing I've really liked about Star Wars Podcast Day is it has been just a great community event to be a part of. So a lot of great things to look forward to. So yeah, so be ready for that, and you will hear more about that as time goes on. You can, of course, pay attention to us. We'll be talking about it closer we get, reminding you that it's happening. And of course, you can always follow Star Wars Podcast Day on social media as well, and they will keep you up to date and let you know what shows are joining the fray as well. So it will be awesome, and we will have links to their social media and everything in our show notes, so you can quickly access them through whenever you're done, whenever you want to. So, and make sure you give them a follow. So, well, let's get to know you, Daniel. Let's explore your fandom. We know, of course, you're a big fan of Star Wars podcasts and stuff, and but let's dig a little deeper into the Star Wars journey that you have been on and been through. So you've listened for a long time to the show, so I know you've heard these questions before. So let's just jump right into it and start with how and when did your Star Wars fandom begin?
Yeah, well, according to my mother, I'm of the generation to have been around a few years before Star Wars, and she did take me, my mom and my dad, they took me to see the Star Wars, the original, in 1977. And according to my mom, I fell asleep during it. So I would have been about like 3 years old, I think, or 4, depending on if it was during the re-release. So that was my introduction to Star Wars. I don't remember 1980 watching Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, but I do remember talking with friends about it and kind of coming up with theories about like what's going to happen in the next movie. So I know I did watch it in theaters, and then I do remember watching Return of the Jedi in theaters and thinking like, man, I can't wait for the next movie to come out, and not realizing it would be 16 years later, and thinking like by high school we would have speeder bikes to go to school, and so, that's kind of my mentality. But yeah, so I was obviously introduced first to the films, the old Marvel comic books from the 1980s. I was reading those, and that was pretty much it at the time. Yeah, I think my very first Star Wars collectible that I remember, and I still have it on the back shelves there, is a book, Star Wars Question and Answers About Space, from 1979, I think. It's a book that my mom and dad got me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, kind of a way of introducing kids to science and space with R2-D2 and C-3PO kind of as main characters in the book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good memory. Good memory there. So, of course, you started at that young age with Star Wars. What was it about these movies and about the saga in general that appeals to you as a fan?
Oh, I'm trying to think. As back to when I was a kid, just the fun and adventure and spaceships and Darth Vader, and just all of that was just so neat as a kid and as an adult as well. So that's kind of what attracted me to the films. And I in a general sense, I liked science fiction a lot as well. So, but that was the main reason for it. It was just fun, and it still continues to me to be fun, a fun thing to participate in. I really like the spaceships, and that's obviously a big part of my collecting. If you see behind me, Aaron, not the listeners, but yeah, I tend to like just spaceships in general. I have a huge Star Trek spaceship collection as well. So those were always neat. I don't know. I don't know if you could say I wouldn't say the message or the positivity, and I know that's what other people feel as well, and I do appreciate that aspect of it. But I just like the adventure and fun and cool gadgets and stuff. And also, I think for Star Wars, with all the material that's come out since, it really fleshes it out. I'm somebody who really, as a kid, really enjoyed looking at encyclopedias, looking through the encyclopedias and looking at maps and stuff. And so Star Wars, as you know, as probably most listeners know, they produce all of that kind of stuff. In addition to novels, they have reference books and encyclopedias and dictionaries and star maps and atlases, and that has always been cool for me in general. And just to have it as Star Wars material is that much more exciting.
Oh man, I definitely can definitely can go with that. That's awesome. There's a lot of great material out there to consume, and it just keeps massively growing every day.
Yeah. And I would say it's almost funny because it's like the films are probably the least interesting part of it to me. I mean, I enjoy watching them, but everything outside of the films in terms of the other stuff that's come out that attracts my attention, that's what I'm more interested in. So they could almost not release any more films and I would be fine with the stuff that comes out otherwise.
I understand.
Isn't that weird?
Star Wars has grown beyond the original movies so much that, I mean, for something that started with these 3 movies, there are so many fans and so many people out there that got their exposure to Star Wars through the prequels, through the Clone Wars, through Rebels, some through Resistance, through the sequel movies. I mean, through the books.
Through cosplaying or through podcasts or through fan fiction.
Exactly.
Or through Lego building clubs. And yeah, there's so many other like subsets of fandom too that people get into it that way. And then, oh yeah, there's films too about it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge, I mean, the sandbox has grown so much. It's like visiting Disney. You got many parks to go to that you can never see everything in one day.
I was just watching a YouTube video about a person who's never seen the movies, but got into you've heard of the Raylo community?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Raylo fan fiction.
Oh wow!
And that whole subset, because she was a fan of fan fiction writing and reading, and so that's the totality of her Star Wars connection. But she loves that community and the stories that they make.
You see, and that is awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I love that because it is something different. Yeah. And that's why I do this show. That's why of all the shows we do, these reaction chats are my favorite because we just grow so much. I love it. So our next question, of course, would be, you've had your journey through fandom. What has Star Wars' biggest impact been on you as a fan?
My wallet.
I think every single person listening will agree with you on that.
Right.
So in that case, what would their second impact be?
Probably the podcast community, and I'm not a podcast creator. I totally just listen to the shows and stuff, but my connection with the podcast community is what has impacted me the most. Not just and is partly why I've kind of created the Star Wars podcast day, was to kind of like give back in some way.
Very cool. Very cool. I can see that because you are really involved in the podcast community. So I love that. And it is a fantastic community. It's one thing I count my blessings every day that I'm still a part of this community, because it's been, 8 years now that I've been podcasting in one way or another.
So, yeah, wasn't it Rebels reactions and Resistance reactions? Yeah, I've been through. I think I joined right when the change over from Rebels reactions to Resistance reactions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That's where it happened. Yes, it is a journey for sure. Now, of course, you've been a fan for so long, obviously you've had plenty of experiences with Star Wars and in fandom and everything. So gotta know, what is your favorite Star Wars moment or your favorite Star Wars experience that you have had?
Oh boy. Let's see. Is this part of the questions that you ask, or is it like
no?
Okay. In general, Star Wars moment, just as a fan, I think honestly, and it isn't my favorite film, but actually sitting in the theater and watching The Phantom Menace, like when that first started, I was like, oh my gosh, I thought Star Wars films were over, and here we have another one on the big screen, and I'm watching it. It's like, wow, Episode 7. I always knew there were, we always knew, like, at least in the early 90s, that there was going to be 3 more episodes, and we kind of felt from what George Lucas had said that would be it. And so, okay, I thought the films were over, and we were getting animation on TV and stuff and video games, but to realize, like, I was sitting in the theater and sitting down to watch Episode 7, which hadn't even crossed my mind, was a pretty exciting experience.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely understand. I know. See, I missed the prequels in theaters because I was overseas, but I remember I was in the theater there for Episode 7, and man, I still get chills thinking about that. Still do.
Yeah.
Oh, well, of course, as you've gone through your fandom journey, of course, a lot of things have changed over the years. And a lot of things have evolved and grown. I think we talked about earlier, the sandbox went from 3 movies to this massive sandbox of shows and books and comics and podcasts and everything under the sun.
Merchandise.
Oh Lord, don't get me started on merchandise. My bank account won't I just felt my wallet shudder from the other room. My wife's going to feel a disturbance in the force and come barreling in here and be like, "What are you buying?" "Nothing, dear."
Yeah.
What have you seen as the biggest change in fandom over the years?
Wow. Well, that it's grown, obviously. And the connectedness of the internet providing, to let us all know that other fans exist in a way that, I mentioned back after The Empire Strikes Back, I was sitting there with my friend. I remember sitting down. We didn't have a paved sidewalks. We just had the dirt sidewalks. We were just sitting down and talking under a tree about Star Wars, and maybe we would talk to other friends at school about it. But now, almost the totality of the Star Wars fandom community is available, on our fingertips online, in all its glory and all its non-glory, but worldwide, and about different particular topics and different ages and races and nationalities, and so it's all there. So that, I would say, that's the biggest change, and it's kind of the impact of the internet as a whole in all of our lives. So if you're not part of the Star Wars fandom in particular, you still kind of know how big the internet has had an impact on society and our social interactions. So I would say that's just kind of the biggest.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely grown. That's for sure. It's a different world. So, and
it's accessible. That's the other thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very accessible. I think the internet has played a huge role in this growth of Star Wars the way it has. It has been quite crazy. So, all right. So we got some more questions to go through, but we do need to take a quick break, so we can take a quick break, rest our vocal cords. But we will be right back with Daniel, and we will continue exploring his journey through fandom, and you'll get to hear the Star Wars Dad Joke of the Week coming up. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron, I almost said Aaron and David here, but that would be untruthful. Aaron here, David somewhere between Michigan and Florida. But we're here having a blast with our good friend, Daniel Contreras, and we are exploring his fandom. So if you're ready, Daniel, let's go to the next question, sir.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Now, Star Wars Saga, of course, has been thoroughly analyzed over the years, over its 40 plus years of existence. And of course, there's a lot of discussions about themes and topics throughout Star Wars. But for you, what has been the biggest, what theme from the Star Wars saga, whether it be hope, redemption, any of that, what has been the biggest impact on you? What theme has had the biggest impact?
Wow, that's a big question. Hope.
Yeah, they get deeper as we go.
Oh, okay. I would say, and I don't know, I probably wouldn't have said this before, but like the joy of it, the fun of it, with like in the actual produced materials. And I'm somebody who tends to like, you know, kind of darker, more brooding, more serious, more mature types of storytelling. And I enjoy that in the times that I see it in Star Wars, but I know that's not really the focus of it. And I've come to appreciate just like the fun aspects of it, the joy that it brings, the joy in the stories and seeing it in the characters and the emotions I get out of it. So yeah, I would say that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that because, you know, the saga does bring joy.
Mm-hmm.
There's celebration and joy in the movies, but the joy that it brings people just being able to sit down and watch it and talk about it and collect it and breathe it. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best answer we've gotten for that since we've started the show, the joy of Star Wars, because there's a lot of joy there. It's very joyful. So bravo. I would have loved to have heard David's thought on that. Because that's perfect. So the saga, of course, has journeyed through many things over the years. We started with the movies, we got the prequels, then we broke into animation with Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance, we got the sequels. Now we're getting live action shows, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Andor. So
can I just stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
Because I just want to say, like, I never take that for granted. I remember being that kid waiting 3 years between films, and just all that stuff that you just announced, most of it has come out in the past like 2 or 3, maybe 4 years. Yep. It's just like, I can't believe that. As a kid, I never would have imagined that kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't like all of it, or it's not all tailored to me necessarily. Some of it is for little kids. You know, but I'm just to think like, wow, I live in a time where I'm getting 4 shows this year on television that are going to come out. Yeah, and a new film that just got announced actually that's coming out in a few years. And we just had 5 films that came out, you know, in the past decade or so, or less than a decade. It's just like, wow. So anyway.
No, well said, because you know, I say it quite frequently on the show. There's never been a better time to be a Star Wars fan because of the amount of content we're getting, not just in TV shows and movies, but books and comics and toys. And there's so much out there to consume and to digest and to explore. Theme parks, yes. Galaxy's Edge. If you'd have told me 10 years ago we were going to be getting Galaxy's Edge, I'd have laughed you out of the room and said, I'll have what he's having to the bartender. And I don't even drink. So make it even more interesting. But yeah, there's so much to consume. And you brought it up too with we're expecting 4 shows this year. Skeleton Crew, we're expecting Acolytes, Tales of the Jedi, season 2, and the heartbreaking final season of The Bad Batch. Which they've said all those are coming out this year, but we don't have any dates, and we're already, you know, good ways through January, and we still haven't heard anything as to what's coming up and when. So it's got me scratching my head. But we did get some, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because we did get some fabulous news. We're recording this on Wednesday, the 10th of January. And 2 days ago on the 8th, Monday the 8th, they announced, no, not 2 days ago. It was yesterday they announced it. It was Tuesday they announced it, Tuesday the 9th, that we're getting that they announced the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that John Favreau. for the longest time, you can't say one without the other.
Right.
Favreau, Filoni. But John Favreau will be directing, and that they are starting production on this year, which is exciting. Then, of course, they, in that press release, buried at the very bottom of it. So unless you didn't read the whole thing, you would have missed it.
I can't wait to hear what was revealed. Yeah.
Dave Filoni is already in development for season 2 of Ahsoka.
Oh.
So that was buried in the bottom of the press release.
Wow.
So
Exciting.
that's exciting too. So I mean, you can't ask for a better time to be a Star Wars fan. I think the drought we're going to have right now between, cause the last thing we got was Ahsoka, which ended back in October. Or
Has
November.
it been that long? Wow.
I have to look at here. The last episode of Ahsoka was here. Yeah, it was October. October was the last episode of Ahsoka.
Mm.
So honestly, what we're in now with October, and it was like beginning of October too. October through we're in October 23. We're in January 24. So it's been a couple months, and we've heard nothing. This is almost, I would say, this is probably one of the longest droughts we've had without a release date on a new show yet.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just for those of you that never had to go through what Daniel talked about, having to wait 3 years between shows. You're just starting to get a little bit of a taste, not even a morsel of what we. I almost feel like your grandma. When I used to walk across the hill in the snow, uphill, backwards, in flip flops. But yeah, I mean, the time frame is incomparable. But it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know it's coming. We got great stuff coming, and it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be fabulous.
I'm excited.
Me too. I am. I tell you, I nearly lost my mind when they. And I got to tell this little story real quick because yesterday here in Florida. If you don't know, I live in Florida. Everybody. And yesterday we had this line of storms that came through, and it was supposed to be really, really bad. And in some parts of the state, it did get really bad. There were a lot of tornadoes. Panhandle of Florida got hit really bad. So thoughts and prayers with them. But it was bad enough that they told us to work from home yesterday at work. I was like, okay, I'll take that. And so I'm sitting here at the house. I'm trying to work, and all of a sudden my phone goes off. Boom. Mando movie. I'm going, wait, what? About that time, my power goes out. I'm like, are you kidding me? I lost.
What a cliffhanger.
I'm like, you can't do this to. I'm like, that's their. I'm like flipping off my Wi-Fi on the phone. I'm like, that cell tower better still be operational. And it was. So I was able to get the info. But yeah, no, it's like Mando movie, and instead of the heavens singing, all the lights went out. I thought that was quite humorous, but I think it was perfect though, because it gave me time to actually read and digest what was announced, because I couldn't work because I didn't have internet at that point. My systems were down, but it worked. I just thought I'd share that. Thought that was quite a smart one there. So
better to be home when the power's out than be at work and suddenly the power's out.
Yes, exactly. But we were talking about all this. We were talking about all the things that have gone on, all the content we're getting, and everything to bring you to the question of how do you feel about the current direction the Star Wars saga is going?
Well, Star Wars saga in terms of, again, because there's so many aspects of it, right? But the what I think you mean is like the visual material, the films and the TV shows. Is that right?
I mean, you can even go into the books, because we've had a lot of great books. We've got the High Republic series in full swing. I mean, it's
right.
There's a lot of directions that you can take it. So whichever direction you want to go, or if you want to see, for those of you that can't see, he is because I know y'all can't, he's holding up a whole stack of comic books in front of me right now. On
I have
video.
a backlog to read them all. Yeah.
So
it's going.
So obviously I can tell you're a fan. We all know you're a fan.
Yeah.
But so I mean, you can address it on all fronts, whether it's literature or visual arts, or just how do you feel the direction of the saga is going? Yeah,
well, because you mentioned the High Republic, and I thought that's the only aspect of the High Republic that I'm involved with, in terms of digesting, which is the comic series. I think it's great. I think that there's so much stuff coming out, and instead of, I guess different people could have different reactions to all that. My reaction is like, this is great, again, because I just feel like it's a bounty of stuff that we're all getting, and things that I know that I will like, and things that I won't like, and things that I don't feel are for me, and it's all out there. And there's so much available that, like, my entire enjoyment of Star Wars is not dependent on whether this film was good or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I just think I take a very kind of relaxed reaction towards the stuff that comes out. If it's something I didn't particularly like, or I thought could have gone differently, I'm like, okay, well, it was good, and it was okay, and then I'll just go to something else. And so the state of the fandom right now, for me and for the way I view it, is wonderful. I think also the stuff produced by fans, which again goes back to the podcasting aspect. I mean, there's just so much out there. I keep a spreadsheet of all the podcasts that have ever come out with Star Wars, and I think it's approaching 5,000 different shows.
Oh, wow.
Not episodes, but actual shows that people have produced, created. So there's so much out there available. And yeah, I guess the only bad thing is that I just don't have the ability to absorb it all. So I do have to be kind of like, okay, what can I focus on? Which is a good problem to have, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. It's always good to have content to absorb, and I love the fact that, I mean, right now there's so much coming out, I can't even keep up with it.
Yeah.
Comics. I haven't even started the new wave of the High Republic, and I've loved it so far, but I haven't started the new wave of the High Republic yet, because I just haven't had the opportunity. And as for comics, I mean, there are comic series I haven't even touched, just because I haven't had the time, or the finances. So it's insane with the amount of things that are out there.
So you've been to Celebration before, right? Star Wars Celebration.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think a good visual representation of what I've been talking about is, you can go to Celebration now, and there's sub-communities within the fandom that people just focus on. So there are people that just do cosplay, right? Mm-hmm. At Celebration Anaheim, which I went to in 2022, there was this whole just group of High Republic fans. And again, I'm not really plugged into the High Republic, but there's people for whom that is so cool, and they create their Jedi robes similar to the style that exists in the High Republic artwork. Mm-hmm. And they have, there's that whole aspect of it, and they go to the panels that are focused on the High Republic, and I'm sure they write fanfic about it and stuff, and there's probably podcasts just about High Republic. So yeah, and you see other subsets of the groups. what are they called? The people that run around with the ice cream makers and the orange jumpsuits.
Yes,
That's its whole thing. That's like a subset
Wilro
of the
Hoods.
Wilro
Hoods.
Yeah, and they run through the entire the convention center, and
Dude,
that's
I
its
love
own little
that.
thing. Yeah, so there's all aspects of that kind of thing. There's lightsaber guilds and there's just like, kid stuff, and there's people that just go and are interested in the authors, and people that are interested in autographs, and people that are interested in podcasts. There's a whole podcast stage there too. So and that's where I'm often seen at, in between other panels. So I think, that's one aspect, that it's become fragmented, partly because of, people have to kind of pick what they want to focus on.
Yeah, that they do.
Good. Yeah. And there's also, they can focus on the stuff now. Sorry to interrupt. They can focus on the stuff being produced now. There's people that are just focused on the stuff that was produced pre-Disney. I went to a local convention called Legends Con, which was just focused on the expanded universe and had expanded universe authors and panels and cosplay. And that was kind of a cool thing put on by fans. And so there's people that just want to focus on that material. And there's so much of that to focus on that, they're not running out of material to enjoy.
Oh, no, absolutely not. That actually sounds cool. Legends Con. That would have been fun. That would have been fun to go to. That sounds like an adventure in and of itself.
It was cool. It was only about 300, 400 people. It was, there were authors there. Jason Fry was there.
I love Jason.
Yeah, I know he's been on the show a couple times. He was there. I got a photo with him. They just announced that Legends Con 2 is going to be in 2025, and they'll announce a location again. So hopefully it's nearby to me. But I'll let you know. Yeah,
let me know. I'll have to. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
I haven't been out to California since 98, 98, right after I graduated high school. So.
Well, if it's nearby here, there's also Disneyland Galaxy's Edge. That's another thing to check out. And also there will be the newly launched Lucasfilm Museum in Los Angeles.
Nice.
So you could make a whole trip of it. Yeah. I don't know how much Star Wars stuff will be there, but there's a lot of stuff down here that you could even Rancho Obi-Wan if you want to go up to Northern California.
That is on my bucket list.
Yeah. So
going to Rancho has been on my bucket list.
Me too.
Since I first heard about it, which was when I met Steve Sansweet.
I need to go there. Yeah, maybe we can make a road trip of it or something. But
dude, that would be a blast. That would be a blast.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be a matter of convincing my wife that, hey, I'm going cross country just to do Star Wars stuff. I don't see that going over well. Maybe if I took her somewhere first.
Mm.
But it would be fun. But all right, so next up, we do have we are running low on time, so we want to move it along here. But we do have our speed round questions, which we have. These are 5 questions, which we just go through real quick. They're real simple answers. They just shoot off the top of your head whenever you're ready. But let's go through those whenever you're ready. You up for the speed round?
Yeah, and I think I could actually answer several of them with just one answer, because I think I've heard these before. But give me the questions, and then I'll tell you which ones apply to the answer that I have. All
right, here we go. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, favorite movie? Okay, that's a separate one. That one is probably Return of the Jedi, just for nostalgia reasons. I like Empire, I like The Last Jedi. I like all of them, but I would say probably Return of the Jedi, just for its sentimental value.
All right. Favorite character?
Favorite character? Boy, that's a tough one. Chewbacca. I like the loyal sidekick that he doesn't get all the fame and attention, and he did get the medal in the end, right? But he, he's just the loyal, trusted companion. I like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Empire or Rebellion?
Rebellion. Okay. Not to be in either one, but I like them both, I guess, on the screen.
Okay. What is your favorite moment from any of the movies or any of the shows?
Okay, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one that I think of that I have the answer for. It makes me sad. It makes me happy. It's when Vader says, it brings a tear to my eye. When Vader says, "You were right. You were right about me. Tell your sister you were right." Ugh, that just like really hits me. It's emotional. It's joyful. It's bittersweet. It's sad that it took so long to say that, but that's just such a powerful moment for me in all of the saga.
Yeah, and it's gut wrenching too, especially as he's gasping for air.
Right.
You were right.
I know. Oh, I just love that moment. Of all all the films, all the shows, all the books, everything. Just that moment really just hits me emotionally in a way.
Love that. Good moment. Good moment. All right. And last of the speed round would be, what is your favorite track or song from any of the soundtracks?
Boy,
there are a lot now too.
There's a lot. You know what really got me was I really enjoy Rey's theme from the from the Force Awakens.
Yes,
I really like that.
Oh yeah. It's a fantastic theme. You know, regardless of what you think of the prequels or anything, you got to you have to admit it is some of John Williams' finest.
Yeah,
work. He really outdid himself on those movies, on the soundtracks to those movies. He did an incredible job.
Yes, and I think The Last Jedi too. There's a moment when Luke is, the Force projection of Luke is meeting Leia on Crate, and then walks out into through that fire, that hole, the hole in the shield with the fire, and walks out to that moment right there. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I remember that such a beautiful little poignant and emotionally heavy moment, and the music that John Williams has with it playing at that time really adds to it.
It truly does. It truly does. So that's one thing I've always loved, is the music just adds to the show, or to the show, to the movies, to it all. So,
and I liked in Rebels and a little bit in Ahsoka, there was kind of this almost like a radio station that played in a couple episodes. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Just like in-universe music, that was pretty neat to include.
Oh, it was. They I always looked the way I always looked at that was nod to the podcast community.
Yeah.
That's how I always looked at it. I'm like, Lucas, that's Lucas, Dave Filoni just giving us a nod, tip of his hat. So whether he was actually doing it or not, I don't know, but that's how I was taking it. So
yeah.
Well, all right. That actually wraps up all the questions we got, and it's awesome to do. So let's get some information here real quick. Of course, we know we mentioned earlier all of Star Wars podcast days all over social media. Right. If somebody wants to follow you, follow Star Wars Podcast Day on social media and stay up to date on everything, how could they go about doing that?
Yeah, well, it's so I am on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter/X. It's all the same. It's Star Wars Pod Day, PODDAY. Just because of the limit of the characters on some of those services. So Star Wars Pod Day. And again, when it gets close to February 7th, look up the hashtag Star Wars Podcast Day hashtag, or the hashtag SWPD 2024, and you'll find a bunch of shows that way.
Very good.
Yeah, I'll make sure to also include them, but I usually include them after the fact. That takes a couple days to collect them and post about them on my channels. But yeah, look on there, the hashtags for the day of. You'll find a lot.
There you go. Perfect. And of course, if you want to reach out and wish David a safe trip, you can hit him up on X, formerly known as the Twitter, or on which is at David_Modders, or of course you can hit him up on Instagram at David Modders, And I know he's on Blue Sky too, but I cannot for the life of me remember what his address is. Carabast. I'm having to look it up. Oh, here we go.
It's not the same, D Modders?
Oh, it is at davidmodders.bsky.social. So at David Modders on Blue Sky. So I'll remember that now. So it's the same as Instagram at David Modders. So anywho, if you want to reach out, talk Star Wars with me, X always at TARS 121079. Of course, you can always follow the show everywhere on social media. We are on Facebook and X at SW Reactions Pod. We are on Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, and TikTok, and
Tumblr, right?
Tumblr, where you can find all of our show notes. He knows them better than I do. I just keep having to remember them. But yeah, at SW Reactions. You can always email us at any time, swreactions@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions. We would love to hear from you anytime, anywhere. So, well, my friend, 2 things left to do before we call it a day, call it a show. First off, I promised you at the beginning of the episode, at the end of the episode, we would tell you what to expect from Star Wars Reactions on February 7th for Star Wars Day. So, drum roll, please. Here we go. So, this is something that David and I talked about, and it's something we back in our into the last show of 2023, our state of the show, we talked about stuff we were going to be doing in 2024, and we talked about bringing this back, and we figured what a better time to do that than for Star Wars Podcast Day. So for Star Wars Podcast Day 2024, we are bringing back our profile series, where we break down a character from the Star Wars saga, basically a support character, not one of your main characters, but your background characters that had an impact on the saga. And this time we wanted to do something. We looked at it and we like, we need to do this person. This would be incredible. This would be fun. We would probably both be laughing a lot because this character does make you laugh when he's on there. And I'm going to give you one of his lines, and you tell me if you can guess who it is. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, my friends.
Salacious B. Crumb?
Wow, apparently I was way off. I didn't even know Salacious B. Crumb even had any lines.
That's what he was saying when he was laughing at
Hondo Onaka is going to be the topic of our profile for Star Wars Podcast Day. So be on the lookout for that as we break down and explore who and where Hondo came from, who he is, where he came from, and discuss his impact on the saga as part of our profile, the return of our profile series.
And where he could be going. Who knows if we ever see him, and we might see him again in some show.
You never know. You very well could. He's an open book. We still need to find out how he got to Galaxy's Edge. So a lot can happen with that character. But we're going to break down everything for Star Wars Podcast Day, and I am looking forward to doing that and sharing that with you. I'm really excited for that show. So, well, that brings us
to the end. Okay, bye.
You're not escaping that easily. It is time for the Star Wars podcast. Oh my gosh.
Podcast joke of the week.
Pretty much. Carabast. It is time for the Star Wars dad joke of the week. And no, I am not the dad joke. Even though I sound like it right now. Wow. I need to. There we go. So here we go. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
I'm ready. Spaghetti.
All right. Here we go. Where did it go? My phone just
went.
just went blank. Wow. Hold on. Let me.
There we went.
There it is. There we go. All right. Here we go. What? Or why? Sorry. Why does Leia wear buns on her head?
I don't know, Aaron. Why does Leia wear buns on her head? Where else would she wear them? Okay.
Oh, true.
Why does she wear them on her head? Yes.
Okay. She wears them there in case she gets hungry during the Senate meeting.
Ah, it's her very own mobile Cinnabon.
There you go. It's a Cinnabon. You could also say that she wears her hair in the bun so her hair doesn't hang so low.
Actually, those are not buns. Those are headphones. She's a podcaster. Didn't you know that?
There you go.
She's got her own podcast going on. Yeah, she's totally just live streaming the entire saga, just walking around.
There you go. It's she's got her headphones on. She's listening to Meghan Trainor sing all about that bass. No, not a moon. It's all about the bass. No, not a moon. A bass. Anyhow, it's getting out of hand there.
Yeah.
It's not here to stop me. Anywho, Daniel, my friend, it has been a blast having you on. I'm so happy you were able to join me this week.
I'm very happy, and I'm glad we didn't mention it, but I got to meet you in person last year in November when I was visiting Florida, and I thank you for having me and for being such a big supporter of Star Wars Podcast Day and for your show. I mean, yours is one of the shows I listen to regularly. I just appreciate all of the positivity and it's just a nice, enjoyable time. It's nice, and I don't, this isn't brought up enough, but it's you're very relaxing and enjoyable to listen to. Like hosts that aren't, yelling or screaming or talking too fast. It's kind of rare sometimes, and so it's pleasant to be part of your listening audience. Yeah.
Oh, well, we appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. We love having you a part of our family as well. So you're definitely a big part of our SWR family. So
yeah, and I miss David, but tell him I said hi.
Absolutely, he will definitely regret not being here with you, and I'm sure he will find a reason to get you back on. He always does. So, and you're definitely welcome anytime. So.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for listening in this week. We appreciate each and every one of you. We love y'all. We're praying for you. Wish y'all the best here in 2024. Keep on the journey of making this the year of kindness. Do something good for somebody this week, something kind, whether it's even just something as simple as a smile to brighten somebody's day. You never know what somebody's going through and how much that smile means to them. So remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwarsreactions.com. www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.